Hi, we're going to start Gothic basic capitals now for black letter. And I wanted to show you this because the capital letters are wider, and you can see how still condensed the lowercase is when it's right up against it. It makes a really nice contrast between the capital and the lowercase letters. So I'm going to show you two. We're going to start off with a very simple Gothic black letter basic form one. And then we'll also be doing a more flourish fracture-like capital. So we'll start with letter A. You have a diagonal, and you come down like that towards the baseline. This one, I'm going to come across the top and then go straight down. Straight vertical with the serif on the exit stroke on the right, and then a crossbar. So we'll do that again. So there's a diagonal on the left leg of this A. Then I have this part of the A coming down the foot. On the top, I can either do this on the top, coming straight across, and then straight down with a crossbar. Or I can come across the top in this direction, straight down and to the right. So there isn't any one particular way to do a Gothic capital letter. During the 12th and the 15th centuries, between that time period, there were many variations that were formed. So these are just a couple, and it's a good basic form to start with. So we'll do the B next. Start with the serif, come straight down. I'm going to lilt to the left. The bottom part of the B, I'm going to make a diagonal going straight down, connect up to the top of the stem stroke, slight diagonal to the right, come straight in with a hairline, go straight out and down. So let's do that again. You can also have like a longer serif coming into it. Straight down, diagonal, diagonal to the right, diagonal, make a triangle here so that it kisses the stem stroke in the center. And this time what I'm going to do, instead of going straight out, I'm going to do a slight diagonal, going down, make a slight curve, and connect it up so that they touch right there at the bottom, that corner. So that's letter B. Now for the capital C. On this simple Gothic C, it's very simplified. Straight down. Before you hit the baseline, make a diagonal to the right. You see I have that lilting stroke to the right. And then on the top, I'm going straight down and up a tad. And that's all there is to that one. So I'll do it again. Here's stroke one. Stroke two is a diagonal. And on the top, I'm putting that stroke down and lilting it up at the top for a capital C. Now for the D. If you notice what I did is when we were getting towards this right side of the paper, I wanted to make my writing position really comfortable. So what I did was I moved the paper over to the left so my hand is in the ideal area to letter. Okay, so for D, I'm going to come straight down. I'm below the top of the cap line. I'm going to move my pen diagonally to the left just a little bit, and then go diagonal to the right. Take the pen up at the top, curve it around, and then bring it back down until it meets there on the bottom. Okay, so then here's the next part, broken down. There, lilt to the left, and then you have this diagonal. And when I do this diagonal, it also makes the width of that letter as well. I'm going to start up at the top. I'm going to go out farther than the stem stroke itself. Put my nib like that, across the top, curve it a little bit, come around, and then put this on, and then have them meet right at that point. So it's D. Now for the E. Start off with a serif. Put the diamond stroke on, straight down, curve it to the left, and I'm going to do that same diagonal stroke going down to the right. Come back up to the top and put my pen right back at the stem stroke at the top and pull the stroke down to the right. Set my pen above halfway, just slightly above halfway, and go straight out. Curve to the left. Come straight down. And then this time what I'm going to do is I'm on the top of this bar. These are branches and bars. I'm going to come out and lilt it to the top, whereas this one came down to the bottom. And then go straight out as well. So there's the E. Now we'll do the F. Okay, the F, you start up at the top, come straight down, and it's not exactly a straight line. It has a slight little curve, like curves to the left a little bit, very slight. Then I'm going to put my pen up here at the top, and then bring this down so that it meets that point. Then the nib goes back up here to the top and does that little curve to the right. This time the crossbar crosses right in the center. What I did on that crossbar is there's a center. The pen goes into the stroke. You pull out, and then you pull across. So there's the F. Now for the G, I'm going to come up higher than the cap line this time. Start with a serif, come down, go straight down. And before I hit the baseline, I'm going to pull that diagonal to the right. I'm going to go up to the center of the stem stroke, go straight across, and then come straight down until those points meet right there at the bottom. And then I'm going to put the top of the G on. And there's a slight, ever so slight diagonal. So here's that same stroke. There's stroke one, come straight down. Here's that diagonal. That tells you the width of the letter itself. I'm going to pull the stroke out to the right. Bring this stroke down to meet that corner and put the top of that G on. And now for the H. Do you see how I put that little lilt and that little tick mark at the bottom? Use the stem stroke, put the nib right back into the stem, pull it straight out, and come down with the little lilt to the left. I'm going to do that again but I'm going to start that a little higher. You can see where the nib goes into the stem stroke and how it connects and swerves to the left slightly. And then I come up on the left corner of that nib to make that stroke. The left corner, I'm writing the left corner and moving the pen to the left. Okay, now we'll do the eye. I'm using the corner of my nib to make this top stroke. I'm going to start with the corner. I'm going to set my pen nib down, move the pen to the right. It goes down slightly. Then I'm going to come straight down like that. And then I'm going to put my nib down and have them meet like this. Now, you may think that looks like a J. Actually, it does look like a J. But the J looks like that, but it's longer, and I'll do the J right next to it. But when you see it in context with other words, you can see that it's an I. So for example, if I were to write the word ice right next to it, you can see that it's an I. And there's another I that we can do. Well, let me do this one again and explain this better. So what I did for the top of that I is I started with the corner of the nib, the very left corner, pull it up to the right, and then as I pull it down, I'm laying the nib down. And then I'm going diagonally across, and then I'm going to set the pen back into that section there and bring it to the bottom. Swerve it to the left a little bit, and then I'm going to put that bottom part of the I down and have it meet the bottom of that stem stroke. And then you can also do, as an alternative I, you can do this one, which is straight across, down, move your pen to the left, and then go straight across. So with that, I started it off with my pen nib on the corner, like we did here at the beginning of that one. Lay the nib down, move it to the right, set the pen down. You're going to slide it to the left to make the stroke coming down. Before you get to the bottom, slide and go back on the tip of the nib and go to the bottom of the baseline. Slide your pen to the right and lift up on the nib so you're on the right side, on the corner, your nib. And now we'll do the J. So you can see the I looks like this and it looks like a J. And the J will be the same thing, but it'll be longer, like that. And that's the difference between the two. So you can see that this is a J when you start writing a word. So this word could be joy, but where you can see that's an I for the word ice. So let me break that down. So the top of this stroke is the same explanation where you ride the corner of the nib, pull it up, lilt to the right, connect the stroke, come straight down, go below the baseline, curve to the left, and then this stroke is starting up here and then coming down to meet that main stem stroke on the right. And you could do the same thing as you could put a spur on the letter form to decorate that letter form. Now we'll do the letter K. Start off with the serif, come straight down and go to the right. Going to go into the middle of the letter form, make a diagonal to the right, slide your pen till you hit to the center of the stem stroke, and then you can do a kick out, diagonal stroke, And then at the top, you're going to put this on, this little top, which is kind of nice. You can see how much fun this is to do. I love doing this. Okay. We'll go back into the center of the stem stroke. Slide your pen to the left and set your pen right back at that center part against that stem stroke and the diagonal stroke and pull it out. And then at the top, set your nib back at that point right there where it meets and make a lilting top stroke on that K. Now for the L. Okay, so the L, come straight down. It's a slight diagonal. It's not a straight vertical letter. You see how I curved to the left a little bit. And then I'm going to do a diagonal to the right. And then I'm going to put this top on like that. So that stroke is the first stroke. You come out and you pull it to the left. You also notice that stroke did not start at the top of the cap line. It's right below it so that it allows room to put that cap on right there. Then at the baseline as well, we didn't hit the baseline, we left room. It's above it, and then we're going to pull this diagonal to the right and drop below the baseline. So you can see that here. It's a straight stroke, and then I lilt up on the right. So I have this down here, and you can see my pen nib is going to ride on the right corner of my nib to the right. And then on the top, we'll put your nib back on the top and bring it down, and you use the left corner of your nib. And that stroke is like this, using the left corner. I'm using a hand guard, and it keeps the moisture from my hand and the oils off of your paper. So if you do it with practice paper all the time, then when you're doing it with good paper, it's just a habit. Now we'll do the M. And straight down. But one thing you're noticing about these capitals is they look a lot like their lowercase letters, and they are. They're very similar. A lot of them are. It's just that they're taller and they're wider. So this is an M. I'm going to set my pen nib right back into the top of that stem stroke. I'm going to pull it out so I get the width of that form. Come down to the bottom. Don't hit the bottom. Move to the right, put a serif on there, put the nib back at the top, pull it to the right. I want to pull it to the right enough, the second one, because I'm looking at the negative space and I want that same negative space to be in there, so I have to pull it in enough to the right so that when I pull the stroke down, I get that. And then a capital M, you put a crossbar across the middle like that. Again, you want to notice that these strokes are going in a different direction. And it's so that we can get the width of that M in there, the negative space. So now the N is just like the beginning of the N, or like the beginning of a lot of the letters that we're doing. And you do the same thing. You pull it out far enough to the right, come straight down, and to the right. That's the N. So the other thing that we could do on this stroke is this part of the N. We're coming into the stem stroke, and I'm going diagonal, coming up and putting that in there for that stroke. So there's a lilt from the corner of the nib, using the full nib coming down on it, pulling it to the right, and sliding the pen, coming straight down, and then pulling the pen to the right for the bottom of the N.